Good morning, Missouri. Good morning to all your companies, exporters, guests, friends, and exporters. And it's all great to have you here today with us. Thank you all for taking the time. I know you have busy schedules, so really appreciate that you've taken the moment to share some time with us and talk about the online world and the Missouri Online Global programs and how we think they might help you as companies in Missouri to trade internationally and globally. So just while the last of you are logging on, let's do some quick introductions. I'm going to start, where do I start? We've got such a great crew today. I'll start with Natascha on the left. She's Managing Director of the Missouri International Trade and Investment Office. She is a fierce champion of Missouri and of exporters, has a lot of knowledge about trade shows, about all kinds of things that can help exporters get their businesses internationally. So reach out to Natascha when you ever got questions on that, if you're looking at the services. And Natascha's going to be going through some of the services, the main services of the Missouri International Trade and Investment Office. We also are really pleased to have Ashley Bowers, the marketing coordinator of Endovac Animal Health, a well-established in Missouri company that, Ashley's going to tell a little bit about their experience as a company, you know, taking some international websites. What does that mean? How do they choose the markets? What do they do that? What was it like? And so on. So that's going to sort of tell a Missouri story. My colleague Andrew is here with us as well, the business development manager for IBC Online. And they're just, Andrew and Natascha were just comparing snow stories just before we started the broadcast. And then myself, my name is Susanna Hardy. I'm Chief Content Officer for IBC Online. So there we go. And maybe just a quick word also on who we are as a company. So IBC Online, IBC actually stands for International Business and Technology. We've been around for quite a while. 20 years, nearly 20 years, and we are 100% focused on online tools, so websites and online marketing for global markets, for international markets. We specialize really in mid-cap companies. We're really focused on companies like you guys that are here today. And we're very proud as well to have won the President's E Award and for making a significant contribution to the expansion of U.S. exports. You can read on that. And that was very great that we got that. Very proud of that. And so we're a U.S. company, and we have offices in Europe, so in Asia, and in the USA as well. What else? Yes, most importantly, for us, we developed something called the Online Global Programs, which we do with states in the United States, like Missouri, which are tailored to Missouri companies, helping them to get international websites. We'll talk about those a little bit later. So first of all, our agenda today, we're going to start with Natascha going through a little bit about the sort of resources for businesses in Missouri that are available for you all, and how to get in touch and what they are and that sort of thing. So that's Natascha going to talk about that. Then Andrew's going to talk a little bit about why we think Missouri exporters need digital tools. Why do you need online business development tools? Why do you need websites, marketing? Why? And then Ashley's going to talk a little bit about Endovac Animal Health and, you know, what was their story? How did they move along? Why did they choose what they did, when, and so on? So that's then Ashley's going to talk about that from a Missouri company perspective. Then Andrew's going to dig down a little bit more into what is website localization? What does it mean to have a localized website? Why can't you use your Missouri website? And then I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the online marketing trends that we're seeing coming up, and some takeaways and questions. We have got some time at the end for questions, so please pop them into the chat box, and we'll be curating them. And you know, this is a dedicated webinar for you guys in Missouri. Take the time, ask whatever questions you always wanted to ask about the internet. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Natascha and talk about the Missouri Department of Economic Development and what they have for businesses. Natascha.
Fantastic. Thank you, Susanna. And we're really excited to be able to partner with IBT today to bring information to our clients on what an optimized website can really do to increase your international sales. And also big thank you to all of you guys for being here today. So I'm going to keep my comments brief so that the bulk of the time is spent learning about the localized websites and then hearing specifically from Ashley and her experience as well. So I'll go ahead and introduce our office, the value that we can provide Missouri companies, whom to contact if you're interested in any of those services, and then, of course, a brief overview of our grant programs that eligible companies can utilize to offset international marketing expenses, one of which happens to be localized websites. So the Missouri International Trade and Investment Office, we are the lead state agency for export assistance and trade promotion. So our goal is really threefold. So our goal is to help Missouri companies increase their exports, so both in volume and then also in helping you guys enter into new markets. And then as a third component, our team does help to promote Missouri as an ideal location for foreign direct investment as well. So the way that we're able to do that is that the state of Missouri does have 15 offices around the world. They serve as an extension of your international marketing team for small companies. Our key services listed there on the deck, first and foremost, you can see is market research. So market research really helps us identify, is this market the right one for you? We generally provide an overview of key service, the key industry indicators, as well as an overview of any competitors that you may have in market. And then last but not least, we provide you as well with some of that regulatory information. So depending on the market that you're choosing to enter into, you will have to work with foreign agencies, maybe for a product registration or whatever that might look like for your specific company. So our team is able to provide you with that background information. Last but not least, one of our key services that we provide is what we call an agent distributor search. So what that really means for you is that essentially we want to hear from you what an ideal customer looks like for you. You explain to us what that looks like in the domestic market, if you're looking for agent, distributor, end users, and then our teams around the world, we go out and search for folks that we feel meet the criteria you've given us. And we come back to you guys as the experts and say, look, here's 5-10 companies that we feel make sense based on the criteria you've given. And then you'll go ahead and say, yes, this is a company we would like to be in contact with, or more of these sorts of companies, less of these sorts of companies. And then our team, again, I'll say this throughout, but we really seek to serve as an extension of small companies' international marketing teams. We know you guys have great products, great services, and we want to help you guys get those to market. So our service doesn't stop there. We will reach out to those companies in the local language, provide an initial introduction to your company with the end goal then of setting up either, something like this, so something like a conference call, or if you're visiting market, of course, go ahead and set up a meeting in market as well. I won't touch on all of these here, but background checks, if you get inquiries coming in from around the world and you're not quite certain about the company, our team can do a check. So essentially we'll look, is the company who they say they are? Are they registered to do business in country, paying taxes? Have they been in the financial news for anything alarming? So really just to give you guys, one, either the peace of mind to move forward with the company, or two, it's like, proceed with caution, or, we don't recommend kind of moving forward with this company because of XYZ flags that we've identified. Certificates of free sale is something that, depending on the country you're selling to, you may need in order for your export documentation, and that's something that our team can provide you as well. In terms of trade shows and trade missions, again, so the state of Missouri does have a number of shows we attend each year where we exhibit, and we invite small companies to co-exhibit within our booth, so to kind of help offset that cost, as trade shows can be quite pricey. Or secondarily, if you're going to a trade show already somewhere around the world, you can utilize that agent distributor piece. So essentially, we will set up those meetings for you in market so that you're not relying on foot traffic when you get at the show, which we all know can be hit or miss, so that when I go to this show in an international market, I've already got these 4 or 5 meetings that are set up for me that are guaranteed. And then last but not least, I've got an entire slide on what our STEP and GMAP programs entail, which are 2 cost share reimbursement programs that small companies can utilize to offset some international marketing expenses. If you could go to the next slide, please. And here I just wanted to give an idea of where our offices are around the world. And again, these are offices that are serving as an extension of for you guys, for Missouri companies. So you can see there that we're very, very fortunate to have 15 offices. The 3 offices indicated in green there are offices that are new to us. So these are markets where we've seen growth, we've seen interest from Missouri companies. And so as of, well, not even a year yet, we have locations in those 3 offices and are really excited about that. On the next slide here, you'll see our team in Jefferson City. So our team in Jefferson City, we are also broken down by regions. So not only of the state, but then regions of the world. So if you have a particular region of the world that you're interested in, you already know, I want to expand in the UAE, and you know that, then you would reach out to our trade specialist that specifically covers the Middle East. However, if you're looking for some generalized information, want to learn a little bit more about our grant programs, or just kind of, you know, hey, I want to increase my international sales, but I'm not quite sure which market, then you would reach out to the representative that covers your region of the state. And then last, but certainly not least, there you can see our administrative team that's listed. This is very key because they do help grant application processing. So they are the 2, Erica and Kay, that walk Missouri companies through the application process, making sure that it's not too cumbersome and getting all of your questions kind of answered as you go along there. On the next slide here, you'll see essentially our STEP and GMAT programs that I alluded to a little bit earlier. And this is, I think, what comes into play today to take into consideration if you are looking to optimize your website, localize your website. So these 2 programs are cost share programs that help drive export sales for exporters. So we've got the SBA state program. So we've got STEP, which is Missouri State Trade Expansion Promotion Program. This is a federal program. And then on the other side, we've got our state program, which is GMAP, and that stands for Global Market Access Program. Essentially, these 2 programs mirror one another, and they provide opportunities for you to offset international marketing expenses. On the left here, you can see the key eligibility requirements. So essentially, that you are a small business by the SBA's definition, so 500 employees or less, operating profitably for a year or more, and that you're export ready. So what's meant by that is either 1, you're already currently exporting, so you're making sales internationally, even if that just be, you know, quote unquote, just be Canada and Mexico for the moment, that you are making international sales, or secondarily that you have an export sales plan in place, and you've got some targets that you've already identified and that you've got management commitment to exporting and international sales. The 51% US or Missouri content based on if it's the federal program or the state program. And this is value-added content. So take into account, it's not just about where you're manufacturing, it's about where the value-added content of your product resides. And then last but not least, for STEP, we do have some qualifying NAICS codes. So what that means is essentially for the STEP program, you must be a manufacturer. Whereas if you might be providing a service, then you would look at our GMAT program. On the right there, and I'll just briefly kind of run through these. So they're all of the expenses are reimbursable at a rate. So what that means is for each one of these categories, you can receive 50 to 70% of the costs, and then we've got caps for each category. If you are an eligible company, under both programs, you could receive up to $15,000 under our STEP program and under our GMAT program annually. So that's up to $30,000 to help offset international marketing expenses. Like I said, each one of these capped differently. And so in the interest of time, I'll just provide a few of them. First and foremost, for trade shows and trade missions. If you're attending a trade show, again, those are pricey, although they can provide a lot of value for a company. So you could receive 50% up to $5,000 to help offset a booth cost. And then I'll just highlight on 2 others, the foreign market sales trips. If you're traveling to market, you're visiting a customer, or you're going to a trade show, essentially you could receive 50% up to $1,000 for both your airfare and your lodging. So keep that in mind as you're visiting customers around the world. And then last but not least, I'm going to touch on the website optimization and localization, as you'll be interested to kind of know that for today's conversation. So a company who is eligible and meets the criteria on the left-hand side could receive 50% up to $6,000 to help offset the costs of their international website. And with that, I'll go ahead and I'm happy to take any questions at the end, and then also, of course, follow up offline with anyone who's interested in learning more about how our team here can really help assist you with your international strategy. And with that, I'll hand it back over to Susanna.
Thank you, Natascha. That's great. I have to say, we deal with a lot of U.S. states, several U.S. states. Missouri companies, you're very lucky. You've got a very active trade specialists and a very broad range of products. And I had no idea you had so many offices as well. I mean, I don't know anyone else who has things in Malaysia and Ivory Coast. Before we turn to Andrew and talk about these things, I wanted to launch a quick poll just to ask y'all, you know, have you already taken advantage of Missouri services and what the things that are being presented today? Have you already reached out and done, you know, the either the STEP or the GMAP, you know, for foreign market sales, for trade shows, for distributor searches, all that? Just a very, very participative audience. I love it. Thank you so much. You've all jumped on this. Interesting, very evenly split. There's about 50% of you who are on this call who have not yet taken advantage of these services. And, but the rest of you have pretty frequently. So there's only very few on the occasional. Either you're right up there doing it a lot or never. But thank you very much. We'll have a couple more polls as we go along. With that, I'm going to turn to Andrew to talk, my mouse working, to talk a little bit about why we think Missouri exporters could benefit from online business development tools.
Sounds wonderful. Thank you so much, Susanna, and thank you, Natascha, for describing the Missouri International Trade Office and Investment. I think there's a lot of great resources, and you know, as far as me being a business development manager, you know, we're going to be talking about some trends on the online environment as we see it, some tools that are going to be helpful to Missouri exporters, and just the overall online environments, you know, that we see across the globe. So starting off, you know, just to tackle some of the turbocharged trends at the moment going into 2022, the shift to online is continuing to march on with all these trends that we see on the left side of the screen, existing pre-pandemic, but COVID has kind of really turbocharged them in a way. You know, for example, e-commerce. Pre-COVID, it was growing at a pretty small amount, a single-digit figure. And in most developed economies like the US or Europe, COVID was pushing now, or COVID has now pushed it to be 20%, 30% growth, which is an incredible metric, I think, within the past few years, as we see e-commerce being done online and also in international forms. So basically, all of these trends that we see on the left side of the screen, you know, we have been able to do as an online community in 2 years what forecasters thought it would take 10 years. And it's all because of the growth that COVID and also just digital has been performing within the past 2 years. It all just means that the online world is totally ubiquitous, and the digital divide is bigger than ever. So those companies who have all of those online tools ready to go are thriving, and those who do not yet, you know, we can see that they are still challenged with some of the present day physical travel, physical ways of doing business. So to look at kind of the online world as a whole and what we've been seeing as far as statistics, these are both graphs of data that we have taken from October 2021, so pretty recent. But just to give a few numbers and trends of what we've seen in the past few years, you know, as of right now, there's about 4.8 going on 4.9 billion users in the entire globe that are accessing the US. It's interesting to note that when you look at social media, 4.5 billion of that 4.8 are actively using social media. So it's an incredible number. It's around, you know, when you think about 80 to 90% of the entire globe that has access to the internet is also using social media, and in that manner, using it to access for business purposes, using it to access for e-commerce, and to understand the digital landscape. People are spending on average 7 hours online, whether they're at work, whether they're on their phones, whether they're spending time using the internet for different business activities. And 3 of those hours are spent on social media. So again, this is just explores the opportunity that social media presents for exporters, specifically here exporters in Missouri, and the ability to attract your audience where they're going to be looking for either products, services, education, resources. So it just it very much highlights the importance of bringing your business not only to an online sphere, but also the social media sphere. And just a couple other numbers to note, the increase, and it's been a 10% increase year on year, for social media users, which is quite a large amount. Here we have 3 different categories for really what the online sphere looks like in an international way, each of which we'll be talking about. So we'll be looking at website localization, kind of digital real estate, using as a sales and marketing website to grow export sales, brand, and business. E-commerce, creating your own e-commerce stores in an online sphere on your website to, again, grow your relationships with your customers online. And then to help support and facilitate those sales and marketing websites, you have search engine marketing available, social media marketing, reporting and analytics, loads of data that you're able to navigate and understand better to, again, grow those exports on a year-to-year basis. And really the 2 core competencies, as I noted in the last screen, one being websites. It's that digital real estate. Once you have these websites up and running in international markets, and speaking to your target audience, obviously this is built and founded around the search engines that you're trying to speak with. But once you have that up, it is important also to have search engine marketing, both paid marketing efforts and also organic efforts, to help facilitate and funnel the traffic back to those websites. You have social media marketing, again, to be the same with organic and paid, to funnel traffic, the engagement, and ultimately convert on those websites, whether it's a call to action for a purchase in e-commerce or a call to action to say, hey, fill out this form. We're looking for more distributors, and we want you to fill it out here. And we have a list of many different clients, and a lot of them give us very positive feedback. So we've compiled a quick little video, and Suzanne, I'm not too sure if the video will be working in this presentation here, but we have a lot of quotations. So, if the video doesn't work here, we can always just talk about what they would say, I guess, or what they are saying in the video. So let's give it a try. Unfortunately, I'm not getting any audio. Yeah, not working. We're still working. It's a work in progress for us trying to get these videos working on the presentations. But just to say that there's a lot of quotes here, and just to point out a few of companies that we work with, exporters that we work with to build websites and also do marketing. Some say that they had over 10 requests for 10 RFQs per week because of the websites they have ongoing. They have everything completely translated. Now they understand how to sell their products on an online world. It's a smart business decision. Page views increased over 80% because of these international websites. So just to note a couple of different points, that video sits on our website. So if it is something that's interesting to you, please go to ibt.onl and success stories. That video is there, among many others, where we have our clients speaking about, what worked for them, how it worked for them, and some of the benefits of the programs. And speaking of the programs, ultimately, why do Missouri exporters need online business development tools? What are they? Everything is online. As far as what we've talked about today, the world is online. They're viewing data online, and it's important to get in front of those clients, prospects, future employees, future suppliers, and because they will be searching where your online real estate will be. Prepare for the new online normal. I think this is a term that's been ongoing for quite a long time, as of right now, this is normal, but the normal as we know it at the moment is online. It's digital. People are still doing business in an online fashion, as far as travel being inhibited for the next few months ongoing. And ultimately, the business development tools like localized websites and online marketing are here to help companies do just that. So with that, we'll go on to the Missouri Online Global Programs and just speak on this for just a moment. We'll touch on it a little bit later. But ultimately, these are here to help our companies reach new markets, grow their sales, grow their distributor network, nurture their distributor network, have metrics, have analytics to help grow their business online. And of course, they're here with Natascha and MIDI and the support that the Missouri STEP grant and also the GMAP programs are able to provide. So that's it from the Missouri side, the Missouri Online Global Program side. It's my pleasure to introduce Ashley, who will be speaking about her experience with Endovac and her success story. So Ashley, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for welcoming me today, and thank you for joining this webinar. As you mentioned in this conversation earlier, the ability to work remote has become so popular, and that is actually what I'm doing today. So I am excited to join you all. Let me tell you a little bit about myself, a little bit about Endovac Animal Health. As Andrew mentioned, my name is Ashley Bauer. I'm the marketing coordinator at Endovac Animal Health. We are a Missouri owned and operated company out of Columbia, Missouri. The University of Missouri is right down the road from us. We have had our humble beginning in 1983, and we developed gram-negative bacterial vaccines for horses, hogs, beef, and dairy cattle. Our biggest lines are our Endovac beef and Endovac dairy vaccines. This is our sole purpose in life, is manufacturing these vaccines to help prevent against gram-negative bacterial infections for all of our farmers, producers, dairymen, veterinarians. So we started, like I said, in 1983. We've been going ever since, but we are a small family-owned company. There are less than 20 employees at our company in Columbia, Missouri, and all throughout the U.S. So we have a small group at our home office, where we also have our brand new manufacturing facility, and we are incredibly excited to see the expansion that happens there. We also have a new research and evaluation facility on site as well. So while everyone has kind of noticed some product shortages or issues in shipping and whatnot, we have not had that issue because we do it all in-house, and it is all US based. So we are incredibly excited for that. We have had an incredible year over the last year or two, and look forward to the continued expansion with Endovac Animal Health. So enough about that. Let's get into why we partnered with IBT and the relationship that we were able to develop thanks to the International Trade and Investment Office. So Natascha alluded to many, many different things that they offer. And at first, I thought it was almost too good to be true. I'm not going to lie to you. When I met Stefan and Keegan and Krista, all from the International Trade and Investment Office, and they kept telling us about the opportunities that they offered, we were like, this is a hidden gem. This is a gold mine. And so we immediately jumped on the opportunity for our website localization and optimization. So we've had a US website for years and years and years. However, we did a little bit of a facelift to it. And we also realized that with this website localization and optimization opportunity, we would be able to create Canadian English website as well as a Canadian French website. And so that's why we were looking to partner with IBT. So the reason we wanted to do these new websites is, yes, we've had exports going out for years, but we really wanted to expand into the Canadian market, not only Canadian English side, but also the Canadian French side of things. So that entailed a lot. Unfortunately, I do not also speak French. So IBT came in and was able to translate our current website and create that Canadian French website for us. And so that was incredible, not only knowing that I was able to kind of let the reins go and let them run with it and make sure that the translations were correct and that everything was the way that it should be and should mirror our current website, but also that we were meeting our correct target market and customers. So we are business to business here with Endovac Animal Health, right? So we're working with distributors and veterinarians. So that's our main goal. However, most of the time, the people who are looking at our website are our customers, our end user. So in that sense, we're almost business to consumer, right? So it was important for us to have that Canadian English and that Canadian French website to make them feel welcomed and help them understand what our product does, what we have to offer, and how we can help them. So not only did the International Trade Investment Office connect us with IBT and help us through the GMAP and STEP grant programs, IBT followed up and delivered within a very reasonable amount of time. They helped us solve the challenges that we were looking to oversee, right? So they helped us meet with new businesses in Canada and distributors in Canada, which is only going to help us in the long run, right? Again, small family-owned company looking to expand internationally. Any meeting that the International Trade Investment Office can set up for us with an outside company or a distributor is only going to help us. Then following that up with our localized website, it was kind of just hand in hand for success. So we chose these target markets simply because that is what we are pushing for right now, moving from US into Canada, Mexico, and I think the expansion is only going to keep rolling. I'm pretty excited. I won't say anything now, but I'm very excited for the expansion that is happening in Endovac Animal Health, and I'm very grateful for everything that IBT as well as the International Trade Investment Office has offered us. I will give a shout out to Kay with the International Trade Investment Office. She has answered probably, we're going on 129,000 questions that I've asked her at this point. And she has been incredibly helpful in the grant application process and following up. And trust me, I mean, yeah, you'll have questions, but the Trade Investment Office has been incredible to work with and very efficient in responses. So if you all are a small or Missouri-based company and you're considering what the International Trade Investment Office has to offer and what IBT has to offer, don't wait, just do it. It's certainly worth your time. You know, it doesn't take, you know, hours and hours and hours to fill out these grants. And if you do have questions, they're there to help you along the way. So we've really appreciated everything they've done for us. Go to our website, endovacanimalhealth.com. At the top right, you'll see a Canadian flag as well as a Canadian French translation option underneath that, and check it out and see what you think. I mean, I think the websites speak for themselves. In the building process, we were kept informed, you know, almost weekly, if not every other day, about what was going on. And anytime I had a question for IBT, if someone who I was emailing couldn't answer it, within a few hours, someone else answered it for me within the company. So very, very efficient on their end. So I hope I just rambled on for quite a while there, but I hope I gave you a great insight into what the International Trade Investment Office has to offer, as well as what IBT Online can offer for your company. So take advantage of it while you can, guys.
Ashley, thank you so much. This would come quite a few questions have come in for you, but I'm going to save them for the end if that's okay.
That sounds great.
Thank you. Thank you. Andrew, why don't you talk to us a little bit about what is website localization?
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. I'll just dive into website localization, and then after this, I'll pass it to Susanna. She'll talk about the marketing aspects to it. So this will just be diving into the details. You know, what really makes a localized website work, what makes it tick, and you know, how does it make exporters succeed. And ultimately, it all starts with search engines. It starts with Google. And you know, ultimately, it's because Google, things like Google and search engines are all localized. For example, Google, you know, I bring this up as an example because it is the main search engine that, you know, we use, but also is used across the globe. And they have 192 different country or regional specific search engines. So the google.com that you and I know it is going to be different for us than the google.co.uk as Susanna sees it, as she's based in the UK. So these are two completely different search engines, and let alone the other 190 different search engines related to each of those. And here we have a great example of a search result happening in 2 different regions of the world. So here in Michigan, I have a dog who likes to make a lot of noise. Thankfully, she's not. And Susanna has the same over in the UK. And so we both searched up something very common, squeakless dog toys. And for both search results, we got results that were variably different depending on the region. For myself, I got things that were very familiar to myself, like Chewy.com, Amazon.com, Yahoo.com, different articles that were relevant to that. In Susanna's case over in the UK, she got things that I've never heard of before, like barksandbunnies.com, barksandbunnies.co.uk, timeforpause.co.uk, or even amazon.co.uk. So you could just by this one example, you could see how variably different those results came up because of the same search result. And also just when looking at a localized site, it's also important to note some of the key nuances between a language. In English, obviously, it's easy to say that American English is very similar to the UK English or Canadian English, but just think of an example of how Spanish is spoken in different parts of the world. Here we have the word car and how that is translated in both Mexico and also in Spain. In Mexico, you can see that they use the word auto instead of the word coche. About 75% of the individuals there, whenever they're looking for anything related to automotive or cars, they're going to be searching up auto. In Spain, another Spanish-speaking country, they're going to be searching the opposite. They're going to be searching up in coche, so instead of auto. So in that regard, if you decide to use coche in Mexico and auto in Spain, you're not going to be seeing results at all, and it's going to be a hindrance to the search results that are able to find you in those markets. So this goes a step beyond just translations of a language, but more nuanced into the different regions. And then we'll look at a list of kind of, what goes into a best practice website among of, what we just spoke about with translations, but also getting your domain name is very important, as Ashley and Endovac knows the process for getting a .ca, a .com.ca, the domain that's registered for Canadian businesses. Multilingual navigation, mobile enabled, mobile first, design adaptation, fully adapted to the local language. So that's kind of in reference to the last slide we just spoke about. Taking in cultural aspects and how important that is, especially when we were looking at, companies that want to do business in the Middle East and how different business is conducted there or business is conducted in China. Taking in those cultural aspects into note when building the websites is very important. Optimize for search engines, so doing the keywords in the background, hosting it within those markets, having a content management system that is able to portray the right details to that market, and also the regulations, depending on which market you're looking into. When it comes to Canada, Australia, Europe, China, these regulations are a lot bigger, and there's a lot more hoops to jump through. So there's definitely just an eye to keep on, which markets you're looking to tap into and which regulations are necessary to navigate. And then just to give an example of some of the analytics that we see behind a website, here we're looking at 2 different charts. The first on the left is a data chart for a website we've built in Mexico. So as you can see, all the traffic, about 9,000 individuals on a monthly basis visit this Mexican website from Mexico. It also gets kind of rebound traffic from Chile, Colombia, a little bit from the US, but very minimal. And you can see that this is a .mx website translated for Mexican Spanish, and Mexican individuals and residents are searching up this website more often than not. And you can even take this a step further. So when we look at who exactly is searching within Mexico, you can see that 1,400 individuals are searching from Mexico City. There's another 500 individuals searching from Guadalajara. So you can take these results and then say, okay, Mexico City and Guadalajara are our 2 hotspots. Let's do even more specific marketing and more specific advertising to these markets. But it's also just important to show that this Mexican website is tailored for the Mexican market, and that's it. Here we have an example, another client that we've worked with, another Missouri company, MSSC. They were going global in the UK and Brazil and Mexico. For them, some of their benefits that they were looking to achieve were brand awareness, brand positioning, and also just finding new distributors. So setting up these three websites in the UK and Brazil and in Mexico, they had call to actions and landing pages that said, hey, these are the requirements that we're looking for in a new distributor. If you fit the bill, please fill out this form, and then we can complete the process in an online fashion. So for them, that's what worked well. They ended up finding new distributors, and in which case those websites turned into not recruitment, but supporting those distributors as a sales and marketing tool, and ultimately drove the business forward within those markets. And that brings us to the Missouri Online Global Program. So as Natascha noted, you know, the funding programs are available for each of these, but just to note some of the packages that we have designed in the background. We have one to multiple market expansion for localized websites, taking a best practice view. So some of the examples that we just shared above, with when it came to Endovac or when it came to the MSSC company. Localization for a custom website. This might include website redesigns for your US website, looking at a multitude of different websites. Ultimately, just a custom package depending on your objectives and what you're looking to accomplish in international markets. And also the second part of you know, a website, and for some companies it might be more relevant than others, is building an e-commerce presence. So we also do have a team behind us that is able and capable of building an e-commerce store, a shopping cart that can sell your products and services online into international markets in a best practice way. And with that, I'll just pass it over to Susanna, who's going to be talking about the international online marketing, some trends and how it's relevant for Missouri exporters.
Thank you so much, Andrew. Sorry, I was clicking very slowly on my mouse. I think I'm losing battery. Before we talk about the marketing, I just wanted to launch another poll and ask if any of you, any of the companies there would like to learn more about the Missouri Online Global programs. If you're interested in getting international websites or marketing or e-commerce, or you know, is it going to be for Mexico or Canada, or are you interested in doing that for multiple markets or just a single market, or do you want to just learn more about how it actually works and you would like more information? Please let us know. And again, thank you very much. Very responsive lot you've got there today. So we're very pleased that many of you are interested in getting a little bit more information of seeing how it all works. Okay, we close that poll and then talk a little bit about online marketing, and then we've got time for questions as well. So thank you very much for those who participated in that poll. Close that, move my mouse to the other side, and get going here. And now we just wanted to say very briefly some big trends about sort of marketing. As Andrew said earlier, for us, you know, the web is becoming a competitive place. You know, it's a crowded and competitive place. If you've got a website, you're going to have to at some point use that website with marketing. You can't just leave it. You can't just build this Ferrari and then park it in the garage. You got to actually get out and drive the thing. You know, use your website and bring it in to every marketing meeting and incorporate it into your strategy of your company. And the way you do that as well is a lot through marketing. This is something that we find B2B companies sometimes can neglect. B2C companies are faster on that marketing journey than B2B companies. We just really wanted to highlight the fact that social media is used for everybody. I think Ashley said earlier, it was interesting, she said, in the end, okay, we're a business-to-business company, Endovac is a business-to-business company, but in the end, you're talking to a person. And you know, you are engaging with that person, with that prospective buyer or prospective distributor. And that is, that is a one-to-one relationship as well. And that is, where the marketing comes in. And one of the things as well that we talked about earlier, and actually Natascha even mentioned, was this notion of your international prospective buyer, or what we call a buyer persona. And one of the things you want to look at when you're looking at your international websites, international online marketing, is who exactly are you buying? Is your international buyer persona? Who's your buyer persona out there in Timbuktu, in Australia, in Canada, in the UAE, or wherever it is? Who is the international persona? Because there are subtle differences. Even if you say in each case it's the engineer or whatever it is, there can be subtle differences. This is a screenshot of L'Oreal in the United States at the moment, of their L'Oreal.com in the US. Very, very on trend, subtly on trend. So, women, top floor, they're all very engaged, they're on computers, it's very, very on trend. There are subtle differences now if we look, for example, at Brazil, where it's more relaxed. There's still women, and it's L'Oreal. They've got gorgeous hair, but it is more relaxed. There's a it's summertime. It's warm. It's hot. You're by the sea. You're by the infrastructure portals, the ports. There's just a little tiny difference there, and I think that was quite well shown by L'Oreal. Another way of looking at it, in fact, is to see how different markets react to online marketing. This is a campaign we ran for a company. We do their marketing for them. We do marketing. They wanted to, we do their marketing in several different countries. It was very interesting to us. We had pretty well the same social media post in the UK and in Mexico. And this is the difference of a persona that you get. In the UK, we were actually really pleased when we got something like 1,100 post clicks. Whoa, that's not bad for frosty England. Then we looked at Mexico, 20,000. What happened? Wow. And not just 20,000, but they were likes and ha-has and loves and shares and all kinds of things going on the Mexican side. So huge engagement on the Mexican side compared to the frosty Brits. You need to look one step further, however. If you look a little bit further and see who's actually converting. So there's the vanity metrics that you saw there, like, oh, I like it and I share it and things like that. In that, this is the blue and the red bars. The conversions is, where did I buy this? How do I look up a user guide? Lots of stuff. Those are the yellow and green bars, and they're almost the same. They're very much more similar, UK to Mexico. And it's something that one has to realize as well, if you're in those markets, you know that you need 20 times more engagement in Mexico than you do in the UK to get the same number of people to buy the thing. So that's the difference between a buyer persona and how they act online, as well as what they perhaps look like online. We can talk a long time about online marketing. On one slide, I tried to just say, what are the big things that you need on online marketing? What's the big things? The first thing you need is a localized website. It's no good running a Facebook campaign in Saudi Arabia if there isn't a website nearby that the Saudis can get onto, that they can connect with. Then that's where you get the real conversions from it. So that first step is a localized website that acts as a local springboard. It engenders the trust you need for that whole buyer's experience, that buyer's journey. So obviously know your buyer persona and you know their journey. Choose your right strategy, choose your right platform. Remember, not all platforms are the same and work. Engage, analyze metrics, and also do not stop. We do the online global programs, online marketing programs as well. As I said, once you have those localized websites, you also then need to back it up with some kind of use of those websites. You need to actually use them and engage with them and drive your traffic. So with that, I'm going to, oh, I could launch another poll. If anyone's interested in learning more about online marketing, which one is that? There, I think that's the poll. So if you have an interest in online marketing, you could let us know, and we could send you some assets or some blogs or some, send you some resources that might be helpful when you look at online marketing. So if you have an interest, let us know, and we'd be very happy to send you more information or get in touch or answer any questions that you might have on that. And again, thank you very much on that. I'm going to close the poll and go straight into sort of the takeaways and questions. There's quite a few questions, a couple for Natascha and quite a few for Ashley too. So, but keep them coming in. So just basically sort of saying, takeaways for us. The first takeaway that we wanted to share with you was basically, that as Andrew said, 4.9 billion people are online every day. The average time spent is nearly 7 hours a day online. So this is good news. You know where to find your prospective buyers. They're online. You know how to reach them too. Websites and marketing. So on localized websites, localized marketing, online marketing gets you found, gets you understood, gets you to do business. And take advantage of the great services offered in Missouri and the Missouri Online Global programs, and Natascha and her team. We even had a shout out to Kay from Ashley. You've got a great team there in Missouri. Connect with them and see how they can help. For us, online tools, websites, and online marketing, it's all about growing your top line. It's all about driving your top line sales. That's what online tools do. So with that, I'm going to turn to a whole bunch of questions. First question actually is going to be for Natascha, I think, if that's okay, Natascha. I have two questions. One is for the for the Missouri Global programs. Do I apply for that to you, Natascha, or directly to IBT Online?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I guess I could explain a little bit more about the grant process. So what that would look like is essentially you would apply on our website, so export.mo.gov. We have the application and the guidelines for both our STEP and GMAP program there, as well as the contact information for Kay, so you can work hand in hand with her. But what that essentially looks like, so this is a cost share reimbursement program, which means you apply on the front end. So you're looking to do a project or go to a trade show or localize your website, then what you would do is you would reach out, you would fill out that initial application on our end, confirm that we have the funding, confirm that that is an eligible project before kind of moving forward. Then you'll receive an acceptance letter from us that essentially says, okay, this is a qualifying project. And then essentially what you will do is you'll move forward, you'll reach out to IBT, you will move forward with the project. On the back end of the project, you will submit actual receipts to us. So we will see the amount that you've expended, and then based on what was approved on the front end, you will then be reimbursed at that point in time.
Terrific, very clear. Perhaps we could put that web link in the chat box, but all noted on your website as well. Thank you very much. Another question just with you, Natascha, is if I apply for it once, can I do it again? Is the exact question.
Well, that is a great question. So it really depends on which expense category. So in terms of a website, this is a one-time website optimization and localization is a one-time expense category. For some of the other categories, it is multiple. One of the things that I always want to be open and honest, I mean, it is a 7-page application. However, once you've filled out your first application, you would be changing one page essentially that says, okay, this is the different activity that I'm doing this time versus last time.
Okay, thank you. A couple of questions for Ashley. You said it wasn't, basically how much management time did it take up for you, Ashley? Was it very onerous?
Yeah, so the first application that I did take me quite a bit of time. I did quite a bit of question asking with Kay though, because I wanted to make sure that my application was filled out correctly the first time, so I wasn't wasting anyone's time or any of my own. But after that, we have reapplied about 3 times now for different endeavors, and it's been much, much easier. So say you put 10 man hours into this, and that's a pretty big stretch. That's with the millions of questions I asked. Say you put 8 to 10 man hours in this, it's absolutely worth the return, because in the future it may take you less than 30 minutes to fill out your next application. And once you have all of those documents submitted to the International Trade and Investment Office that they'll need for reimbursement, etc., they keep it on file for you. So it's not like you have to resend them every time. So the first application takes a minute, the next are quite easy.
Okay, thanks, Ashley. And Ashley, another one for you about the websites. A company asking, we don't have a technical department. How much technical background do you need to have these international websites?
Well, I'm in the same boat, guys. You're looking at the technical department for Endovac Animal Health, as well as the marketing department, maybe PR. So it was incredibly easy. Normally, at least our websites are set up in a program called WordPress. So all that IBT did was went in and created our Canadian English and Canadian French sites in WordPress as well, made me an administrator. So it's easy to log in and then make any changes as necessary on my end in the backside of things. However, as Susanna mentioned, I know that IBT also has continued marketing availability and efforts that they can probably help you with that as well.
Okay. Another one for you, Ashley. Did you get any pushback from anyone in your team about doing it in-house?
Not at all. I think more than anything, like we said, it was almost too good to be true at first, like, wow, we can have these built and have a team put together and help us and answer our questions. And it's, not going to cost us $40,000 or something crazy. That was the best part of it. So I think once I explained it to the team, and with the help of the International Trade and Investment Office, they were all for it. And it helped too, because the representatives, Keegan, Stephan, Krista, I know Keegan and Krista actually came out to our office in Columbia, Missouri, and sat down and had a conversation with us about our website and about our endeavors and trips into Canada. So these are resources that are at our fingertips, guys. This is what they do. That's what they're passionate about, and they're here to help you and help your business grow. So as long as you go into it with an open mind like that, and you have someone that can manage that project, whether that be in marketing, sales, a director, it's certainly worth the time and investment and something for your team to take advantage of.
Ashley, one more. I'm sorry too. One more is, which I think is an interesting one. You said you didn't speak French. How are you maintaining the websites?
Yes, great point. So with our Canadian English website, I can do all of the translation there. With our Canadian French website, what I will have to do is request changes to be translated by IBT or an outside translation company. Fortunately, we do have multiple resources for that. So anytime I make an update on our Canadian English site or our US site, I'll then be able to do those two, but I will have to outsource for the French side of things. So again, IBT can help with that. Fortunately, knock on wood, we haven't had to make any changes just yet. However, with the new expansion that I think is going to continue with Endovac Animal Health, thanks to this kind of expansion here, we will certainly have to do that in the future. So great question. Certainly utilizing all resources we have to make that happen and make sure everything's accurate in translation.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, perhaps a question for you. We have a trade show coming up in 4 months. Can we have a website by then?
Yeah, that's a great timeline. I think just to answer that best, it takes our technical team about 3 months to build localized websites. And it's funny that question's asked, because I think it's something that we get asked all the time when we're having one-on-ones with our clients, as far as why they want websites, and a lot of times is they want that, again, digital real estate to show to their clients and to their distributors over there and say, hey, we're dedicated to this market. But yeah, answer to that question, yes, and takes us 3 months to build websites, so absolutely.
Just I would emphasize on the build side, just the build team would be shaking in their boots. Not all websites are built in 3 months. E-commerce takes 4, design can take 4 or 5. So, but yes, generally 3 months. And that's actually a good point about trade shows. Their websites are really useful for that. With that, I think I wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to Natascha and the team of Missouri International Trade and Investment. Terrific team that you've got, and thank you so much, Natascha, for joining us. Ashley, you're amazing, and thank you so much for taking the time and telling us a little bit about your story in Endovac, and I'm excited and intrigued to watch that space, what's happening in Endovac. It's great. Andrew, as always, for your insights on website localization and how the markets work and all that. Thank you for being here today. Most of all, also thank you for all these Missouri companies who've turned up, and you've been very active on questions, on polls and surveys. Thank you, and reach out to us if we can be of any help in the future. And thank you all very much. Stay safe and stay sane, as they say. Take care. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you very much indeed. Bye-bye.